And hello, Triangle Tennis Podcast listeners. It is Zack and Matt here for another episode. And today we are going to be recapping the Cary Summer Singles on the side of the fellas from 3-5 all the way up to 4-5. And we are joined by a very special guest. We're cracking Spindrifts, we're cracking Kirklands, and that's right, he's back by popular demand. Matt, who's with us today?
We've got another fellow doctor. Dr. Ryan Sayko with a Kirkland. Is that a Kirkland sparkling water?
It is indeed a Kirkland sparkling water, lemon flavored.
Those are good.
Put a little vodka in the Kirkland sparkling water.
Okay.
It's a healthy adult bevy right there.
It's indeed 5 o'clock somewhere.
It is right here, I think.
Particularly right here.
Why don't you tell folks, how was the listenership for the Durham Summer Singles recap? Did we do numbers for that? That's not positive.
No, I just haven't looked.
Oh, okay.
We had. Where is it? Content. 12 views on YouTube.
Let's
So
go.
We'll be honest with you, folks. The Durham Summer Singles episode wasn't our most listened to. And sorry that it wasn't one that jumped out of folks, but we had a ton of fun recording it. And so here we are again.
Zach, remember what we talked about where sometimes, for me, when I see my favorite podcast, I often listen to it right away.
Yes.
And what I'm finding is that other listeners may not do that to our podcast. They actually might wait a week before they listen to it.
So we are America's backup podcast. Like all
Yes.
the stuff that you want to listen to is done. Hey, Triangle
Yes.
Tennis Podcast is right there, and you know what? I'm at peace with that. That's being number 2, being number 3, being number 4 even.
Yeah, that's
good.
a little closer.
Being
You're up
5,
there.
6, 7, 8. Hey, you're still in the mix. If we're top 10, I don't know. If you're listening to 10 podcasts, that's a lot of podcasts. Before
Yeah.
we get into it, do y'all listen to any other podcasts, tennis or otherwise?
I always listen to Politicology when Zach's on it, obviously. I really do. Anytime you're on it, I always listen to it.
Absolutely.
Ryan, what about
So last time I was here, I did a little plug for Jonathan Stokey for Baseline Intelligence. He's still plugging along with his podcast, getting some big names in there. Another one I'll listen to once in a while is the Functional Tennis Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
With
nice.
Fabio. Those are the guys that developed the Functional Tennis Saber, the 30-something square inch racket that serves as a sort of training tool in case people want to train the sweet spot on the racket.
Shout out to Sergey, because he had one of those when they first came on the scene, when I think you had to order it from Europe. It wasn't in the States right away. And I tried one of those things out. It was humbling, but also it was really helpful. The Saber, that's legit.
Still come from Europe.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they do. I actually ordered one like a couple months ago, and it is pretty nice to hit with.
Fellas, there's a business opportunity. Franchise the Saber, whatever, in the States. Become a tens of thousands there. It'll be great. One thing that I want to plug is Talking Tennis. I had the opportunity to be a guest commentator on their live stream during the first set of the Sinner Draper match, and it's a ton of fun. If you think that the tennis commentary on ESPN or NBC or ABC or whatever is just boring, I certainly do, because typically you'll have somebody say something like, "That's a devastating moment," and then 45 seconds of silence, and I can't do that. So had a blast. They're a great channel. Check them out if you get the chance. Subscribe to them on YouTube. And you should also subscribe to the Triangle Tennis Podcast while we're on the subject. And with that, gentlemen, should we get into it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. 3-5. Cary. Summer Singles. Who got it done? Who got the win?
That was Team Ready by just a quarter to, it looks like.
Wow.
It was a tight one.
So 2 teams went 7-1. They were the clear top dogs, Team Ready, Team Bird. This shows how close it is at the top of these leagues. And look, shout out to both captains. They clearly put together strong teams. Sometimes it just comes down to availability, and sometimes it just comes down to luck. What a season. How about that for Team Ready? Very impressive run. Any players that y'all would like to highlight on either one of those teams?
I do not know a single player on Team Ready, but congratulations. That was a great win. And it looked like, according to their tennis record, they definitely had a solid squad, but there were a couple squads, according to rankings, that were better than them. So that's a nice win.
Yeah. Ryan, can you illuminate anything for us here?
That's actually a great question. I only know a couple guys on Team Bird. I've seen both Bacher and Andrew Chen with some pretty good records.
Mm-hmm.
One
So-
thing,
Yeah.
one thing I want to point out here: you pull the ratings on Tennis Record. Tennis Record famously, it's not a science, but it's a pretty good approximation of USTA.
Mhm.
Team Ready was the third rated team. They were not the
that's what I was
overdogs.
saying,
They were
yeah.
the underdogs. And
Mhm.
it's really impressive. Let's just go through this roster and give a couple shout outs to a few of these guys. I'm pulling it up right now, but folks at home, if you don't know this, Tennis Record, while free, is very slow.
We should also do a disclaimer that Zack is going to do his best to pronounce the names, and we hope you can have some grace.
Yes,
with
and I'll
us.
just
we're
say,
gonna do our absolute best.
my last name is Tchaikovsky.
It is.
We've
Mhm.
Americanized it. It's from the Polish Tchaikovsky. It's difficult to spell. It's difficult to pronounce for
Mhm.
many people.
It
It's not
is.
for me because it's my name. Some of these names, I'm not familiar with them. I'm not familiar with their games. There's some spellings that I'm unfamiliar with. I'm going to do my best to get it right. And if I get it wrong, I'm so sorry. Please write in. Please correct us. Looked up a few of these to do my best to get it right. But again, not sure it's going to happen. So, couple players to point out. I think the clear MVP of Team Ready, AJ Varba, Ganapatharaju, has a 3.64 dynamic record rating
wow.
on Tennis Record. That's a very strong season, and he also went 4-0 in this league.
Mhm.
That's a pretty darn good summer singles run. Would y'all agree?
That sounds
Yeah,
like a bump and a
undefeated.
half incoming to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
One other player who's likely to get the bump here, Vamsi Pasangulapati, 3.62 on Tennis Record. Both AJ and Vamsi, they have strong 3.5 records. They're not like 74-0 type players because they played up a little bit. That's a great way to get bumped, but also a great way to grow your game. Want to make sure to shout them out. Two other players looking likely to get bumped from Team Ready. Folks, if you're a 3-5 in the Cary area and want to play on a team, it's going to be wide open next year. Srinivas Shragava. This one's tough. I'm gonna need another run at this. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Srinivas Raghava Surendra has a 3.52, so he's a bubble bumpy. We might see him back. We might see him at 4-0. 26-24 on the season. A lot of reps with another season to go in the fall. Gents, what's the optimal number of matches that y'all want to play over the course of a USTA year to make sure you're healthy, but also your game is nice and grooved?
I want to play as many as possible. What is the maximum amount that you can play? And that's what I want.
Ryan, what about you?
Honestly, I think that just depends on the player that's looking to play matches. Some people like to play a match a day, even if it's just for practice, and others just like to play 2 or 3 matches on a given Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, it does depend on because Zach, you're a two league tops kind of guy.
Yeah.
And where I'm captain in 5, and I'm not even playing in them. So I'm just USTA is my thing. I love the team aspect. I want to be on as many teams as possible, play all the matches. But then you got tournament guys. So like Zach, you're a big tournament guy. You want to play as many tournaments as you can. And so I think those are differences. And then you got to think of when we turn 40, God, that opens up so many more teams. I could double the amount of teams I play on.
Oh, yeah.
That would be wild.
Speaking of, I just had a conversation with Ryan Berliner after a really
Yeah?
fun match on Sunday about this. And he was saying, once you hit the 40-plus, you think that, hey, especially if you're like 40, 41, I might
Yeah.
be able to get some easy wins because I can hit these guys at the courts. I can move
Yeah.
pretty well. You stop getting free points in 40-plus. It's a very different game. And in
Yeah.
his telling us, look, guys have a little bit more life experience. But also, at that point, they have stopped making the bad choices that I
Yeah.
certainly still make on a tennis court.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. Ryan, are you looking
can't
forward to
wait.
40-plus?
I don't even know about going to 40 plus. I'm still a solid 9 years away from being
Yeah,
40.
you got a
So
while.
I haven't even considered it yet.
See, I'm actually much more excited for 55-plus than 40-plus. I'm like, my favorite shot, I love the lob and I love the drop shot, and I can't
Yeah.
wait to do it to slow old men when I'm a slow old man.
Oh,
It's
Zach,
super
you know
fun.
where you can play against old men currently and do that to them.
Is it pickleball?
It's pickleball.
There you go.
And you know what's going to happen tonight is the old men at the UNC farm are about to get lobbed and
Yes.
drop shotted all fucking night. Spencer Llewellyn is going to be lobbing and drop shotting all the old men. They're going to be coming off with broken hips. It's going to be a good time.
Absolute best of luck to everybody involved, and I hope you crush their spirits. Yeah, good stuff. A couple other players that I do want to shout out on Team Bird. I know we gave a little bit of love to Andrew Chan, absolute baller, fellow tournament guy as well.
Yeah, he
Rocker,
is.
friend of the pod. Bong Sang Cho is a player who's got a lot of buzz right now in the triangle. He's a 366 dynamic rating. He was, in my mind, the MVP of the runner-up team with the very strong 4-0 record. Overall, great season. Didn't quite get it done, but fun was had by all, and just a really solid 3-5 year in Cary.
Yeah, him and Youngjun are both on my Durham team and maybe on my Cary teams too, or I should say Spencer and I's teams. So they are definitely interested in playing. If you're in the EEB, make sure I say that right. EEP. If you're in EEP, you should be, and you're looking for cool dudes to play 3-5 with, you should contact them.
One other player that I just have to acknowledge here. I don't know this individual, but best name by far, Ty Giggy. Ty Giggy?
That is a cool name.
That's a very cool name.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ty Giggy is awesome, but I'm going to go ahead and assume yes. And also Young Jun, who's on your team, so you probably know this, 45-11 this year in USTA. That's pretty good. That'll get it done. All right, Matt. Any closing thoughts? Anything else in 3-5 before we move on to 4-0?
A shout out to Connor was there. He's a solid 3-5. I'm sure he'll be bumped up soon. But I think that's about it.
Okay. Ryan?
Nothing else from me.
Okay. Before we get to 4-0, and we will get to 4-0 because it was quite a season, we want to hit some listener questions. First and foremost, accidental bad calls happen. I do it. You do it. Everybody listening, you've made a bad call. Certainly. However, there are some matches that mean more to some folks, and there are a handful of players here and there. Maybe it feels like they're making bad calls. Maybe they are making bad calls. Maybe you think, hey, this guy's hooking me a little bit here, and I don't love that. What do you do in that situation? Ryan, have you ever felt like you were getting hooked on a court, and how do you handle it when you are?
Honestly, from the point of someone that serves 2 first serves per match, people give me the benefit a lot more. They're very generous with my serves, and even if someone calls it out, sometimes I'll just brush it off and take a deep breath and then go for another serve. And if there is like a pattern of 2 or 3 repeat calls in the same spot, then I guess you got to say something. I've also been on the receiving end where I've made like a couple calls that people were questioning about, and at that point, if you really feel like there's that sense of guilt, then you just gotta talk to them straight up and be like, hey, I'm not bullshitting you.
Yeah,
that's a good.
It's good to like talk, you know, and not be passive aggressive.
Yeah. Another thing that'll happen, I think, more often than someone cheating you, I've found, is people accusing you of cheating. And how do you deal with that? I find that more common than the other one around. Yeah.
Trying to work the refs a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, and trying to do what Ryan just said and make you feel guilty so you give them a few calls. I think that's much more common.
So how do you handle those moments?
I think you just gotta. You can either talk or brush it off. Let them know, hey, I saw it out, and you just gotta remind yourself that you're gonna make 1 to 2 bad calls probably each match, but you're probably against them. But you're probably gonna make another 2 calls that should have gone in their favor. Yeah. So it generally will even out if you're making a few bad ones here and there. That's the way I see it. Ryan said, if there's 3 really like ones that were pretty bad, then I would get concerned. But everyone's going to make 1 or 2 bad calls a match in both directions.
Yeah. So my grandfather was a tennis player, and the story of how he would handle this is something that's been passed on for generations. What my granddad liked to do, if he felt that somebody wronged him with a call, is he would wait for a ball to land in the literal middle of the court, and he would catch it midpoint, look the person dead in the eye, and say, that ball was out. I can do this all day.
Wow.
and so
that's a bold move.
That's a little more aggressive. That's a thing that like maybe back in the day would fly.
Yeah.
I do not have the whatever required to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I can do that. So I agree with Ryan. I feel like the direct, hey, I just want you to know I saw that ball in. It's your call, but I saw that in.
I still think that would be quite the sight to see someone just catch it and call it out.
Badass move.
Yeah. That'd be so spicy in a league match.
Yeah.
I would be shaking. I'd be so nervous. I'm like, oh my god, this guy is about to lose it. Because if somebody did that to you, how would you respond?
I might walk. I don't know. It depends on the type of match. At that point, I might
Yeah.
just walk off the match and be like, nah, man, that's not what we're doing.
In
Not
the
okay.
match. If it's early in the match, I feel like whoa, okay, that guy really takes it seriously. I understood. If that's like third set type situation, that's a whew.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think that's pretty funny, but I would never put up. That's
It's-
something I would never accept that.
Another indicator it could be is that they could already be mentally frustrated,
Yeah.
depending on the body language that they give you. So if you take advantage of that and
Yeah.
pull a couple mind games on them, throw in a few underarm serves.
Oh, that's a great response. That's the best response.
you'd
You're
be
right.
Quite spicy.
Yeah.
I played a guy in the juniors, and I played him 3 times, and every time we played, I thought, before I finally got over the top, every time the ball would be in by 2-3 feet, and he'd call it out. And when I was like 11 or 12, I would just lose my mind. I'd just start to cry and like freak out, and I didn't know what to do. And then I went to a tennis camp, and they're like, hey, just get an official. As soon as there's a call where you're like, I think that person actively made a bad call, get an official. The match that I did that, kicked his ass afterwards.
Yeah.
I think sometimes just the act of saying something like, hey, like I didn't see it that way, it's a good check. Because if somebody's confident in their calls, they'll be like, oh, sorry, I did. And then they'll move on.
Yeah.
If there's that guilt, it lingers. That guilt and shame, these are powerful things psychologically.
Yeah. Interesting. Speaking of that, real quick, have you guys played at Southern Boundaries recently?
No, but I believe they resurfaced it, yeah?
They did resurface them, and they made those lines real thick. Real thick. I don't know what the official width is supposed to be, but it's double whatever you see it on the other courts. You get a lot more grace over at Southern Boundaries.
Do we like a girthy line? Yes or no?
I'm pro girthy line. More of my lobs will be in.
I could do it.
Are the service lines girthy? Because that is legit.
They're not.
No, I think it's the baseline.
Just
it's
the
the
baseline.
baseline. Yeah, it's very girthy. Yeah.
Going back to Ryan's serve, I'm pretty sure, Ryan, your first serve percentage, I think, drops by anywhere from 5 to 10% on clay because you leave such a beautiful mark. And it's, I couldn't tell, but the mark sure looks out there.
Yeah.
I've actually been working on that. I actually played on clay last night at Raleigh Racket Club for combo, and my serve percentages were perfect for our doubles match. It was great. I'm pretty sure it was a solid 2% higher than on a hard court on average.
Oh wow. What pre-match strategies or routines would you guys recommend? This is another listener question.
Ryan, you're the body language doctor and a doctor. What do you think?
That's a good question. In a tournament, I like to listen to some music. I like to listen to a playlist.
Oh yeah.
Throw on some headphones over my hat and just focus. Take a few breaths, just be in the zone, and just do some warm-up stretches, maybe a little jog, and wait until your name gets called to get on the court.
Matt, how about you?
You gotta get a good night's sleep. Can't play if you're tired and angry and annoyed.
So true. You know, some guys they play better or think they play better when they're like really up and intense. For me, I've got to stay loose. So I have a bunch of assorted old man creams and goofs like hemp emu cream, and that gets me like literally physically loose, but also mentally I have to get loose. So I'll listen to goofy music like Dirt Nasty before the match. For those of y'all that are familiar, he's got, you know what? None of his songs are really nameable by me on this podcast.
I don't even know who that is.
Highly entertaining. You don't know Dirt Nasty?
No.
He made classics.
Like the one, that one.
No, I know the song. I feel like if I say the names, it's gonna sound bad. But anyway, he's a very silly rapper. He's very silly, and that's good. I find that if I get too in my head, too serious, I fixate on my errors and I don't celebrate the good points. So I got to stay loose pre-match.
Okay, so we've got one more. How do you pronounce ENOCTA? What's the correct pronunciation? Is that the question?
I believe it is. Yeah, the letters they sent it and spelled them out ENOCTA. How do you pronounce that?
Now, how do you pronounce that? Yeah, it's obviously as more than many people. Lots of people are saying Inocta, and that's the correct way to say it.
Ryan, can you confirm?
Yeah.
Sometimes my mind's split on Inocta. Sometimes I say CTA.
It shouldn't be split.
Yeah, no.
There's no reason to be split because that's
100%.
incorrect. Yeah. There's really no reason for the split.
Glad we settled this once
Yeah,
and for all. It's
I agree.
Inocta.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4-0. There were 5 teams in Cary. Very, very solid little league. Who got the win this year, folks?
What did you write? Team Sashin won.
Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about this captain,
Yeah.
their play style, how they put this team together?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, you.
I don't know many of the people on the team, but I do know that they are all some pretty solid and consistent guys. And one person in particular, his name is Caleb Richmond. I think he was a late addition to the team. I think he plays club at NC State. I saw him play part of a match with Dan Gallo before it got rained out, and he seems like a pretty hard hitter. They were duking it out pretty well at the McCrimmon tennis courts, which are a pretty nice place.
Beautiful tennis courts. Yeah, that's a great facility.
This is pretty remarkable here, guys. This was a very close league. So Team Gregson came in second, right?
Yep.
The winning, both teams, Team Sashin and Team Gregson, 7-1. Win percentage for Team Sashin, 65.46. Winning percentage for Team Gregson, 63.71.
In games percentage.
It came down to one match, one line. One line was the difference.
That
in Cary.
stings.
Holy moly. And so let's just go through a couple of the players on Team Gregson. This is amongst the strongest 4-0 runner-up teams I've ever seen. This, I would say, this gives the Chris Mansfield spring team of 2023 a run for their money. Brett Compton. Oh, boy. He is a tough player. I have been Compton personally. I think anybody listening who's been Compton knows what I mean.
Yeah.
Dan Gallo.
Yeah.
One of the toughest 4-0s in the triangle. Aaron Heil. Max Gregson's the number 4 player on this team.
Wow.
He's a very solid 4-0. Dan Podrasky, Scott Scarnio, Ryan Shepard, Andrew Pham, Sergey Perok. That's a nasty summer singles team.
Yeah.
And it all came down to one line.
Oh, that is tough. Man.
But you know what? A little bit of a spoiler if we wanted to do a bit of Raleigh on the next recording.
Oh, yeah.
Gregson's team won the Raleigh 4-0 League.
There you go.
And several players in this runner-up team were actually the champions in Raleigh 4-0.
Okay.
So they'd all be playing on that team at States.
There you go. So that works out. That worked out.
Wow. I think this is the particular kicker. These two teams played each other twice in the season, and they played in back-to-back weeks. They did not play in the final week, but the 2 weeks before that, they played each other home and away. Team Sashin won 3-0 in week 1, and then Team Gregson won 2-1. So they split. The only losses were to each other, too.
Yeah.
That is a heck of a season. Let's go through the Team Sashin roster and just give some shout-outs. There's a ton of good players, but this is probably the thing that everyone should be the most scared of. Not a single player on Tennis Records getting bumped. So the whole team could be coming back. We might be seeing the makings of a 4-0 dynasty in Cary. It's a good league to get in. So Chirag Patel, 31-7 on the year, 397 on Tennis Record, 5-1 in summer singles. That's a pretty darn good season. Have y'all are either of y'all familiar with Chirag's game?
I don't know anyone on this team now.
Not at all.
Yeah.
That's okay, because he got it done. We don't need to see
I
his
was
game.
the way you said that, I thought you knew something,
We thought,
but you
yeah.
don't.
It sounded like you had something to tell.
Exactly.
Here's what I had to tell you. Very good player. 31
Oh,
in
yeah.
the year 4-0.
That's great.
Yep.
You're great at reading off those stats.
There we go. We got when you haven't seen him play, what else can you do but read off the stats, right? All right, here's another one. Went 3-0 for this team. Is going to be back at 4-0 in all likelihood next year. Ghanshyamson Gohill, very solid player out of Apex. Apex guy. Okay, maybe you trek all the way over to Cary. I don't know much about the Apex scene. Do y'all ever get out that way?
I don't think Apex is that far from Cary. I
It's
think,
really not. It's right down 54.
yeah, I think we need to work on our geography.
Oh no! If it's not in Durham, it's not. It's not really. My
Yeah.
Durham bias is so aggressive.
Yeah.
Going to Chapel Hill, that is a personal odyssey for me. And my parents live in Chapel Hill, and I love my parents.
Yeah, Apex is pretty close to Cary, and so is Mooresville. They're all connected.
Is the Apex scene intertwined with the Cary scene, or is it Durham and Chapel Hill, where they're like their own distinct flavors?
Chapel Hill has its own distinct flavor. I only know
Yeah.
of the
Chapel
Chapel Hill
Hill
Tennis
is-
Club.
It's way more club based. There's a Chapel Hill Country Club.
Yeah,
Chapel
there's the
Tennis
club.
Club, like,
Yeah,
you don't See
yeah.
a lot of, you don't see a lot of public players.
No,
there,
no, there's
whereas
not a lot of
Durham,
public players.
Much more of the people, public school players.
Yeah.
No, that we have McGregor Downs Country Club. They're down in Apex.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
McGregor Downs.
Yeah. There's a couple. Prestonwood is in Apex, but I don't think they ever put together a team.
Yeah.
Not Apex. I think that's in Cary. Sorry.
Yeah, Preston's in Cary.
It is in Cary. That's my fault. Yeah, Mooresville has some very nice public courts. Our 8-5 Cary team plays out of there. They're brand new. There's only 4 or 5 of them, and they got a couple pickleball courts there, but they're very nice lights. Apex has some not so nice courts. That was the last league match I played at, was the Apex courts at night, and they're not good.
Oh,
I would not
golly.
recommend playing there.
Apex Community Park.
Yes. Yeah, you've played there, Ryan.
Yeah.
They're not
I
fun.
think I told you I hated playing there.
Yeah, I think you actually
My
said you
last
were gonna
match.
you were
I'm
not,
not-
you would not want to play there again. Yeah, if you're captaining a Cary team, I would actually recommend going out of Mooresville because it's pretty much the same distance, and you don't
Oh.
have to wait until. The weird thing about Cary leagues is they don't tell you where the matches are scheduled and what time until a day or two before the match. It's very annoying. So I would suggest going out of Mooresville because then you know exactly when you're playing, where you're playing, every single at the beginning of the league, and they're very nice courts.
That is a phenomenal pro tip from a veteran captain of the Triangle tennis scene.
Yep.
You know what? I also caught wind that the Apex Nature Park has some tennis courts as well.
Oh, that's
Do
kinda
they?
nice.
Because when you Google Apex Community Park, it takes you to the nature trail, and there is no wherever it takes you, there are no tennis courts. Then you have to re-Google it every time.
You have to Google Apex Nature Park.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan, let's talk about 4-5 Cary. Both of y'all were captains. Ryan, who won the league? Who was the runner-up?
It's unfortunate to say it, but nah, I'm just kidding. Jermaine's team, they went 8-1 and took the first place out of Cary 4-5 with a very solid lineup of guys. And the runner-ups were the team that I myself captained through a solid 6-3 season.
Nice.
It was a pretty darn good season. This is just
I'd
a
say so.
stacked league. This is a stacked league. So both of y'all were captains in this league. Both of y'all put together teams. Tell me a little bit about how you put together those teams.
You can go ahead, Ryan, because mine's not that exciting.
I'd say it's pretty exciting though. A lot of good people.
Oh no, I just posted in
Oh.
the chat. Like we just posted in the chat who wants to play tennis in Cary,
Oh.
and that's how we got it. So
Matt, I
I-
believe that you can tell that
okay.
story with a little more panache. I believe. I believe.
Yeah.
Do you believe? I believe.
no, we posted it in the chat, and people signed up.
We just say it like it is.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm usually on the side of just saying it like it is too.
Yeah.
This is entertainment. We're not journalists here. I went to the depths of Antarctica where I found a frozen man, unfroze him in the microwave, and that was Zack Chakowski, who's now on my team. I don't know. You just gotta make it up a little bit.
What did I do? I woke up on a Monday morning and I was literally like, "Hey Zach, how you feel about joining a team if I made one for Cary?" You're like, "All right, that sounds good." And then I just came up with a list of guys to handpick.
Yeah, I
and
got
just throw together that team. And
Here we are.
the thing is, a lot of these guys, they got a very high ceiling. When they're playing well, they can beat people
Mm-hmm.
at a very high skill level, and they just play overall great tennis. And everyone on this team has had one very solid win that they can be proud of over this summer season.
God, I gotta say, Jermaine's team was stacked. He put together, as always, a very talented team. Not a single carry guy on the roster.
That's
There's
okay.
one player in particular who I had the absolute pleasure of playing against. Herman Gudjonsson. He is a new player to the area, and man, is he good. He's so good, he ended up with a dynamic rating of 4.7 to close the season. He beat me in straight sets. Super duper impressed by him. Very solid guy. Look, Brett Eccles, at this point, I think a lot of folks are familiar with him in his game. Ryan Lewis, Yum Junju, Craig Radley, Andrew Lopez, Alex Renfro, Matt Anderson. I know a couple guys who I'm not familiar with, but Andrew Lopez is another one.
Yeah.
The dude can just ball. Have you all seen him play?
No, what I've heard. Yeah, he's really good.
Oh, we've seen him play, Zach.
Yeah.
We've seen him play some pretty good tennis.
He had a great match against Akihiro, didn't he?
Yeah, I saw
Oh, who
both
won?
of his matches with Aki. I think Jermaine and I were just thinking, let's just throw them together and just watch the best matches.
Yeah.
Because I talked to him a couple times and I'm like, yeah, I'm excited to see these guys play some tennis because it's very high quality. Like each and every of those 3 matches that they played this season was really good.
Bigly, absolutely. Yeah, one thing I want to point out, so like sometimes in these leagues, particularly when you get a team that goes 8-1, there are a lot of 3-0 results, right? This was a competitive league. Absolute credit to Jermaine's team and the winner, but I think it was really fun. Every match felt competitive. We lost a couple 2-1 heartbreakers against Team Bird. We lost a couple. We lost Team Hanauer got the only win against them. It looks like actually here.
We did?
Yes.
You did indeed on 8-5. Good. Let's see.
Good
yeah,
job,
so,
us.
So
When did we
Herman,
beat them?
good player, got the win. But then Eric, Sandifer, and Kelvin both
Kelvin's
got
really
wins.
good. Yeah.
So Kelvin is a new character in the East End Boys comic universe. Tell us a little bit about Kelvin and Kelvin's game. I'm not familiar.
He's very new. He played his first match. We played, oh my God.
Is that the one with him and Anil?
Yes, Anil. I was blanking. Yes, him and Anil played and he lost 10-8 in a third set tiebreaker, and that was his first game. So he's got a big first serve, big forehand. He's a big, lengthy dude. If you just looked at him, you might think he's a little intimidating. He's a big dude with a lot of tattoos, but then if you go talk to him, he's a very humble, very nice guy. I talked to his family when I was there. Everyone was super nice, just looking to get in hits. So if you're ever looking, he's in Cary. If you're a high level 4-0, 4-5, 5-0, and you're looking to get a good match in, I definitely say hit him up and see if you can get a good match going.
Very cool.
I second that. I still need to get a solid match with him.
Yeah, I would try and get that scheduled. Yeah.
It's always great in this area. There are new players coming in constantly, and they're solid guys, solid players. One of my favorite things about living here. Ryan, talk a little bit about some of the players on your team. Talk about who you think maybe the MVP was and some of that good stuff.
Oh man, we do not have an MVP. I think we all played very stellar.
Keep going.
I think we have an MVP, Ryan. You know who it is?
Is it you?
That's for the people to decide. No, I think you're the MVP for putting it together because captains are always the MVP. Because without captains, we don't have teams, and without teams, we don't have leagues, and without leagues, what do we have? Despair,
It
and
would have
sadness.
just been 3 teams in that league rather than 4.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then that league would have been more depressing to play, probably like 6 matches instead of 9.
Yeah.
If you only have 4 teams in the league, you play 9 matches, which is actually a good amount.
Yeah,
I think most teams play like 7 or 8.
I love when they find a way to get us an extra match or two. I love the playoff format for the leagues that are able to do that. I think it's just, look, this is recreational tennis. The stakes, they're as high as we want them to be, but something about a playoff, it just feels like it matters more. It's something you get a little more excited about. You spend a little bit more time prepping before the match. Maybe you knock off work early, shirk a responsibility or two just to make it happen. And then that's something that for me, I don't know that I could get there without that playoff.
And it could be like the same sort of mindset you'd have as if you're going into a tournament.
Absolutely. Can someone explain to me how the fuck Stuart Bible is a 392 on tennis record. If he doesn't get bumped, he's gonna be such a problem at 4-0 next
Oh,
year. It's
wow.
gonna be silly. Like
100%.
build a team around Stewart at 4-0, number one singles,
Mm-hmm.
guarantee win every single time. It's outrageous. This is where I think the tennis record actually doesn't keep up with the player's level, and maybe UTR is a slightly better indicator.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see. There would be an easy way. You could see who gets bumped and then just see did UTR predict it better or I don't know what
Oh.
UTR, but again, UTR doesn't. I don't know how you do that because I don't know what is a true 4-0 in UTR. We'd have to figure that out.
I think it's pretty complex to think about UTR,
Yeah.
especially like in
Yeah.
different regions.
Yeah. How do you account
Because
for a region?
a 6-0 UTR could be like a 4-0 UTR in California.
Yeah.
Speaking of different regions and different rating systems, I had the chance to talk with a British fella, and they use WTN still for everything. And when he asked me, what's your WTN, I didn't even know. That's just
Yeah.
not a thing that I check. Is that something that y'all look at, or are you mostly tennis record and UTR?
I guess when I was playing more UTR tennis record, but yeah, I don't really check the their WTN thing.
I'll occasionally check WTN like in tournament play and stuff, but there are a lot of tournaments where you see guys that have a medium or low confidence
Yeah.
WTN, meaning they haven't played that many matches lately, so
Yeah.
Exactly.
you don't really know, you can't really gauge a certain skill that they're at yet. I still think WTN is very new to the area.
Yeah. One of our listeners, Manuel, wrote me a while back that he'd be interested in hearing about different tennis associations. How does the U.S. Tennis Association stack up against, say, Canada or Peru or France or different places? And I love that idea. It's an episode that I'd love to do down the road. But the one kind of thing that I know for sure is WTN is really helpful for that exact thing. If you want to compare yourself to players from other countries, it's the world tennis number. That's very helpful. It might not do as much for how do you stack up in the South, how do you stack up in the States, but globally, it's a really useful tool for giving you an idea of where things stand. Matt, who was the MVP from your team?
I think it's got to be Dan Gallo. Went 4-0. Gave Stewart a bit of a beatdown. Got him 2-2, I think. And that was shocking. I was at that match. I don't know if it was Stewart's best day, but I think I've mentioned Dan several times. I think he's in the top 3 or 4 of most. I'd put Mike Westlander. There's somebody else I'm missing who's improved a lot, but I would put Dan in that category as well as some of the most improved players over the last year.
Absolutely. And it's been really cool to see really across the area and the region how many players have improved and have been working on their games. Mike Westlander's one that certainly comes to mind as well. One other player that whose name I want to raise was on Team Fowler. Wes Watson had a very strong season at 4-5 overall. Didn't have a great league, went 2-5, but he's got a 4.35 dynamic rating, 25-16 on the year. Can you tell us, Matt, a little bit about Wes's game?
He's funny. He's a goofball. If you ever play with him, I've never. He always has a good time, whether he's winning or losing. He's having a good time.
I love it.
He's got a monster forehand. It's one of the biggest forehands I've seen. He's just got a big game. He's one of those guys. If he's on, you're in trouble. I know if he's off, he'll make a lot of errors. But he's got big serve, big forehand, goofball. That's the best way I describe him.
I love it.
Absolutely.
There's another guy in that team on Team Fowler, Patrick Grant. I had probably my favorite match of the season against Patrick.
Yeah.
We split sets, ended up getting it done in a tiebreaker. He's someone who got bumped down to 4-0 last year, but is also a pretty much guarantee to get bumped back up. 4.24 dynamic rating. That's not a bubble.
Yeah.
Bump. That's something crazy would have to happen for him to not get bumped. And he's got the game to back it up. Big forehands, really good serve, moves well, able to close really effectively. I think, to me, that's a clear sign of a high-level player is when somebody's able to get forward and end the point off of neutral balls sometimes, not even offensive shots.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Before
Yes.
we wrap up, because we got a few minutes here, we're making good time. How we doing? What's new with you guys? What's happening in life?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I've been just trying some new string combinations, my rackets.
Oh.
I've been trying the new Otoro string from Toraline, and it's been up and down lately. I've had mixed feelings about it, but I think after last night, I'm finally starting to get used to the feel of my shots with this string. It's a pretty soft six-sided string, and when you hear about strings in different shapes, when you have a round shape versus a sided shape, you'll think of these strings having more bite onto the ball, which is supposed to cause a better snapback and contribute to a solid spin.
Oh.
I'm not the best at describing these things because it's also possible that people like us can barely even feel the difference between how much spin we get from these strings. But I feel myself getting a lot more spin with this string than I usually do with the Head Links Tour that I also use, which is also a six-sided string. But it is now like right up there with it as one of my favorite strings to use.
That's
and it also
rad.
looks nice because it's a nice green, bright green string.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the colorful strings. Prince Synthetic Guts, they got some very wacky color patterns.
Yeah, you do have. You have like rainbow colors, yeah.
Yeah, I think tennis doesn't need to be stodgy and boring. You can express yourself, have a little fun out there. Matt, what about you? What's new?
Oh, I'm still upset. I got third place in a pickleball tournament the other day. I'm
Oh
furious.
my god.
Uh-oh.
It was a charity event, and I was telling my partner, I was like, if this wasn't a charity event, I would have fucking cracked my racket or my paddle. I was so pissed. I couldn't believe it.
Who says you still couldn't do that?
Yeah.
The vibe was not
Oh.
that. They're definitely like in our league matches, I will toss visors and I'll yell, but this was just not the vibe of the charity event. And so I was just so pissed. And it was my fault.
Do you have a pickle rival now? Who beat you?
Oh, no, I don't know. I've never seen them. No, I don't think we have. I think the team we're playing tonight probably. It seems like they're in second place, so I think out of UNC the Farm, and the first match I ever played, I played this old dude and then this even older dude. And I know Nick Gilder and I were like, "Oh, fuck, these guys can't move. We're going to take them." We got beat 15-0. It was crazy. They annihilated us. I'm hoping my team will exact revenge on them tonight. I'm not playing tonight, but we've got a great lineup. We've got Rob and, you guys don't know Jess. He's a true pickler. We've got Spencer and his buddy of a true pickler. And then we've got Parv and somebody. I forget who. Parv is a very strong pickler.
I believe that.
I've been very impressed with Parv's game. I'm trying to see. I don't even remember the lineup,
If
but
you
it'll
give
be great.
Parv a racket, he's gonna figure it out.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
exactly.
He's got that kind of hand-eye. He's so good at the net. He's good from the
Yep.
baseline. He can do it all. That tracks.
Yep.
Quick life update on my end. I
Yeah.
bought the extended definitive director's cut of Heat on Amazon, and I've been slowly day by day making Sarah watch like 15 to 30 minutes of it.
Oh, my
Fantastic
gosh.
movie. Fantastic movie. If you like heists, you're gonna like that. If you like good movies, you're gonna like it. It's just, have you guys seen Heat?
I have not seen Heat.
Probably at some point. Yeah.
Oh, it's like the diner scene with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino is, I'm going to go ahead and say probably the single greatest scene in film history. Don't worry about fact-checking me. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah. Just like Nocta, right? Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
Inocta. That is as much of a lock as Inocta.
Yeah.
One other just kind of fun thing while we're here. Trying to move the ball forward on the Durham Retro Racket Classic. I have dropped the ball on a few things. Mike Westlander and Michael Young have been instrumental in getting it to this point, and I have been the thing holding it up. We need to get insurance, it turns out, to do this, which I was not anticipating. So if any listener is an expert in getting the cheapest possible insurance to put on a recreational wood racket tennis tournament, sure would appreciate some advice. Because I don't really even know where to start for that kind of thing, for being totally honest.
My dad sells insurance, but I'm not sure if it's that kind of insurance. I'll ask him.
It's
not
I'm
sure.
sure he'll know someone at least who.
Yeah,
can
they're in
point us the right
Indiana, but they
direction.
might be able to. I'm sure it's not. You probably need some like liability insurance of some kind, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
That
In
yeah.
case
makes sense.
someone like cracks their skull or something.
Both of you have been asked the question, the closing question, but we end every episode with it. So who wants to take it today?
No, you should take it. You haven't answered it.
We never went from point A to
I can do that. Zach,
Oh,
okay.
good. Clay.
We'll do point A to Clay, and then Zach, you should answer the question.
Okay. I'll answer it.
Okay. Dog poop
Dog
bags.
bags.
Not just poop bags.
Dog poop bags. What goes in a poop bag for a dog? Poop.
Poop.
What happens when you put poop back in a trash dump in the ground? It biodegrades.
It does.
What does that ultimately turn into? Turns into dirt. What is the finest form of dirt known to man? It's clay. It's clay.
Wow.
And there's an abundance of that throughout the Piedmont
Wow.
and central region of North Carolina
Look at this
that could
guy.
easily be turned into clay courts if there was only a little bit more organization and appetite to do so.
Yeah.
How was that
great.
one?
That was good. Yeah.
Are you should
We'll
start
take it.
grading them. Give me a scale of 1 to 10. What do we think?
I'm trying to think of your other ones. Ryan, do you have any thoughts? I don't remember.
Give it a 6.
A 6?
6.
Yeah.
That's an F, dude.
Yeah.
My scale's on the more strict side.
Dr.
I don't
would
give
fail
out
Dr.
many
Sayko's
tens.
class.
Oh, he doesn't give out 10s.
My
Okay.
averages are like 4s.
Oh,
if
wow.
someone were to ask me like a numerical scale, it would probably be like a 4 or 5.
How do you
Yeah.
do Yelp reviews and Uber reviews? Are they all? Because I feel like at this point, if you do anything other than 5 stars, you're basically saying this person's horrible at their job.
Yeah.
It's very binary. It's either 5 stars or 1 star for me.
Is there ever a situation in which you would give something other than 5 stars or 1 stars?
If I was like in a state of contemplating life and was very conscientious of how I'd actually be rating people and businesses, then I'd probably say 4 stars and then hand out a couple reasons why it would be 4 stars and not 5 stars.
Matt.
I very rarely rate anything. I'll probably just give him a 5. I don't know. All right. Let's finish it up. Zach, what does tennis mean to you?
Matt, I'm so glad you asked that because I've been waiting to answer this question for 26 episodes now, and
Yeah.
it's been really fun doing
Yeah.
this. And I've had the chance to hear a lot of what other folks have said. I don't always listen to this podcast, but I'm always on the podcast, and so I've heard what everybody's had to say.
It's true.
Tennis to me is not about tennis. Like I find myself getting too competitive sometimes. I find myself caring deeply about getting better and the results. But at the end of the day, that's not why I play tennis. It was why I started playing tennis. I wanted to get better, I wanted to be active, all that stuff. It's about the community. It's about the people that you get to spend time with every Saturday. It's about building relationships that you take off the court. Right now, Christopher Green has just had his first child with his wife, Christina. Christina did most of the work. She had the child. Christopher has become a parent, right?
Yeah.
And little Sebastian, shout out to little Sebastian, is adorable and awesome. And
That's a
Lefty
great
Mark,
name, Little Sebastian.
Oh, yeah. Little
Oh,
Sebastian. Lefty Mark, Sure Shot Sure, organized a food train for the Greens. And so people are bringing a little bit of food over to make life easier on them. And that's the kind of thing that, like, it doesn't – it just it transcends all this other stuff. Like, it's not just people showing up and working out. It's a community. And it's been one of the great joys of my life to see it grow from a kind of a 10-person iPhone-only group chat when I first joined the East End Boys to eventually to it outgrew the group chat, and then it had to go to Group Me. And then it was like not just people playing tennis on Saturdays, but people doing stuff with each other and intertwining their families. And people are going to have kids, and their kids are going to grow up together. Maybe they're going to play tennis. Maybe they're not. Maybe the East End Juniors will take off. So tennis to me, it's about the community, and it's about how much that has enriched my life and my wife, Dr. Sarah Cunningham's life. And I hope that everybody listening is able to get as much from tennis as I feel that I have, because I feel incredibly lucky to be part of this group, but really just the whole Triangle scene. I guess where I'll leave it is just thank you to everybody who's part of it. Thank you to everybody who showed up to one Saturday session at East End, that's captained a team, any of that stuff, because it matters, and it's not about tennis. It's about everything else.
Great answer. All right. This has been another episode of the Triangle Tennis Podcast. Catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Boop.
There you go. Good job.